Well, thank you. That was a really excellent discussion and big questions. Because these are the big questions, aren't they? We say we're revolutionaries, how do we make a revolution? We say we're socialists, what does socialism look like? So I will attempt to answer some things and then I will leave the rest to the other speakers. Briefly on your question, there are many instances of unity on the left in Britain. The anti-racist movement is one of them. The United Front that is stand up to racism, and in the past we have had many others. The Anti-Nazi League, Unite Against Fascism is still there. That sense of working with Labour Party people, with reformists, with trade unionists, with people from religious and faith groups, and on people who are not in any organisation. We unite to fight the racist. The Socialist Workers' Party on their own cannot beat the racists. We want to link arms with everybody that agrees with us against racism, but we also have our own independent politics within that movement. But to move on to the questions about revolution and socialism. You see, I think the comrade there who said about we've not seen a revolution that sort of follows from the ideas of Marx and that. You see, I disagree. I think the Russian Revolution that we talked about, it completely is an example of what Marx was talking about when he talked about revolution. And as one speaker said, Stalinism was a product of the defeat of that revolution. It wasn't an automatic product of it, it was actually an automatic product of the smashing of the revolution. And even the revolution in Egypt, it didn't go as far, and it's still ongoing, because the working class were not able to play the central role in it. But that too is an example of how Marx talked about what was needed to change the system. And I think I want to talk about where I began my talk, that the basic human needs in society are not being met by capitalism. And if you look at the demands of the revolutions, over 100 years ago, the demand of the Russian Revolution, bread, peace and land. The demands of the Egyptian Revolution in 2011, bread, freedom and social justice. Now, they're still calling for bread over 103 years later, because this is what's the massive impoverished population. But these are very simple demands. They're not complicated. But capitalism can't solve these demands. The only way people are going to win those very simple things is by utterly overthrowing the system. And that's what Marx meant about we can't solve these problems within the system. We have to completely change it. And the difference you see when we talk about what would a socialist society look like and how do we get there, you see, we don't have a blueprint. That's one thing as socialists. We do not say, this is how you will live. This is what you will eat. This is what you will wear. This was how we do not have a blueprint. We believe people who make a revolution make the society that comes out of that revolution, because we believe in self-emancipation. Because the unique and wonderful thing about revolutionary struggles is they do change the world. They can bring down dictators, they can change the world, but they also change the people who make the revolutions. You know, when Engels talked about people have to be in it body and soul, he meant it's their revolution, they're making it, so they change themselves. Egyptian revolutionary, some people will be familiar with, Mahinur el-Masri. She was in prison for many months and we all were campaigning for her. What she said about the revolution and how it changed people, the Egyptian revolution, she said, you feel how the revolution has changed people. They have become mighty and courageous. They don't feel inferior to anyone. People grow. People who have just been the pawns of the system, feeling that the system is too big to do anything about, become big and strong because that sense of collective struggle. And then those people make decisions about what is going to be produced in the factories, what the education system will look like. Who better than the people who work in a hospital to think how best to run it? They don't need all the well-paid managers. They could run it themselves. People can decide in a community whether they make more sports cars or more ambulances. What is needed will define what is made, not what will make a profit. And I think that sense of priorities that will be decided by ordinary people every day in workers' councils or Soviets or similar sorts of democratic bodies will be the genuine democracy. This myth that a revolution is about a dictatorship of a minority is a complete distortion of the reality. The people who peddle that myth are people who want us to fear revolutionary change. And in fact, one of the things about genuine social revolutions is actually a lack of violence. I can't remember who mentioned this. Actually, mass revolutions do not actually, one of the features is not violence. Actually, violence is needed by a minority to keep us down. The threat of violence, the state, the army, the police. When a vast majority of people want to do something, that's their power is in their collective strength as a class. If you wanted to stop me leaving this room, you just block the door. If I wanted to stop all of you, I hold a gun to you. I need the gun to hold you all down. But if it's all of you against me, who needs the gun? And so that sense of violence is not a necessary part of it. And to see what's possible when people say, how does it work and everything else. I mean, Tahrir Square was only 18 days. But in those 18 days, a glimpse of what people, ordinary people, can do. They organised everything, food, water. If you lost your mobile phone, there was a place for lost property on the square. Well, we're talking about some of the most impoverished people, street kids who spend their life picking pockets and selling little tissue packets at cafes, brought people's mobile phones to the lost property. They had a stake in it. And of course the stories of people being protected as they prayed, of different religions are there. The place was clean. You could have eaten off the street. The place was so clean on Tahrir Square. Blankets, camping, thousands of people. At the beginning, in the first few days, people brought us step ladders, you know, to stand up, to give speeches, to debate. After a few more days, stages were being built. People had no internet because the dictatorship cut the internet off. So they projected Al Jazeera television. People sewed sheets together and hung them from buildings so that they could see the world was watching them. And this is the ingenuity of ordinary people, which is crushed out of you in capitalism. We're told we're too stupid to do anything. We're told that we're only the little people that can just do this. In fact, we all have such vast potential to make a better world that can be unleashed by revolutionary change, unleashed by the possibilities that revolution brings. And that's why they're so scared of it, the ruling class. They're scared of what we're potentially able to do. And so I'll leave it there, because I think when we talk about system change, it's not just that another world is possible, another world is necessary, isn't it? Capitalism is not just holding back the possibilities for humanity, it's actually creating the possibility that we will lose the globe, isn't it, with climate change. So another system is necessary. We and people like us across the world are the people that are going to make it, but only if we get organised, only if we realise now that this is the time to build and organise and fight for those future struggles where we can make the difference between victory and defeat.
Okay, we have to speak about revolution. And we are 100 years after the Russian Revolution. I want to remind people that the Russian Revolution started on the Women's Day. It started because a group of women said, okay, we will demonstrate, we celebrate the Women's Day, and we demand bread. And this was the start of the revolution. We have to keep this in mind. What happened after this demonstration and how the regime faced that, how the workers, they started a general strike from below, and how they organized this. They organized this with the workers' conscience. They elected their representatives, and this happened not only in the factories, but also in the army. That's how they stopped the war. They stopped the war, and they started communicating with the German soldiers, the Russian soldiers. And they decided, we are going to put an end to this war. We're going to go back to our villages, back to our families. I mean, the revolution is not a product of thinking of some revolutionaries who have the clear theory on their heads. The system itself comes to one point when they cannot govern with the old way, and the people who are from below, they don't accept that. Say, okay, we don't accept it. And they feel powerful to take over the system. This can happen. And it happened not only in Russia in the last 100 years. We can speak for hours about how many revolutions that we have. In the same period, we have revolutions all around Europe. We had in Germany, we had in Italy, we had in Hungary, general strike in Britain in 1926, there was revolutionary upheaval of the working class. There is the possibility to change the world. What is needed is not only the willingness of the working class and the self-organization of the working class, which is absolutely necessary if you speak how we can stop the war, stop the oppression of women, the oppression of the Jews, and so on. It is the question how you come to victory. How, and this is the experience of the Bolshevik Party, how a small minority can come to influence millions and overthrow the system. Because in February, when the revolution happened, the government that they had, it was not a revolutionary government. They were social democrats. And there were people who said, okay, we did a revolution, but we have to continue the war. This is defense of our revolution. It's defense now of our country. Don't move quickly and occupy the factories. Wait, we're going to make elections. We're going to elect a new parliament and a new government, a new left government, I would say. And the Bolsheviks were arguing, they are fighting with a lot of people for a different strategy. That's how they came from a small organization of some thousands to be an organization of 200,000 in October. That's how it was possible when the workers, they moved to overthrow the Tsar and take the power from below. It was possible because there was a revolutionary force. So when we speak about these big events of today, and we speak about our experiences in Austria, in Britain, in Greece, we have to be very proud, because if we compare what was happening in that period and in this period, the revolutionaries are in more countries, and they're much more than they were in that period. In that period, we had the Bolsheviks of Lenin. It was the minority that they stood against the big betrayal of social democracy. They supported their government in the First World War. Okay, and now we have revolutionaries and we have left currents all around the world. And there are struggles. So the possibility from our side to influence the way how all this crisis will develop is also on our hands. And it depends on numbers, not on the willingness of the revolutionaries. It will depend on how big we will be at a crucial moment. So we have the picture of the crisis, we have the picture of the instability of the system. This will not happen forever. It's not there and waiting for you forever. We have to take the chances, and it was very important in this period what happened on the 18th of March. This was a coordinated international mobilization. It was supported by the international socialist tendency, and all the mass organizations, the united fronts, I would say the word, to which we participate. And the picture is there. There are millions who are ready to fight and to resist. We have to build big organizations in order to win all these people who are moving to the left, to win them to revolutionary politics and not to the parliamentary reformist politics. This possibility exists. We have to make bigger organizations in order to take the possibility of changing the world from below.
Judith hat gesagt, wir bieten keine Blaupause an, wie sich die Arbeiterinnen die Gesellschaft aufbauen sollen, aber wir haben doch eine Vorstellung darüber, wie wir zu einer Revolution kommen und wie wir eine Revolution auch zu Ende führen können. Ein wichtiger Schritt ist angesprochen worden, nämlich es braucht eine Linkspartei. Es braucht auch in Österreich eine Linkspartei. Und es ist widersprüchlich, wie gesagt, in Deutschland gibt es eine und sie steht bei 10%. Die Linkspartei ist deshalb wichtig, weil wir als Revolutionäre Wurzeln schlagen müssen in der Arbeiterinnenklasse. Das ist unerlässlich. Die Arbeiterinnenklasse ist die einzige Kraft, die die Gesellschaft wirklich neu gestalten kann. Es sind die Menschen, die kontrollieren können, was wir produzieren, wie wir es produzieren, wie wir es verteilen und wie dann die Gesellschaft aussieht. aber wir müssen sie auf dem Weg dorthin einmal gewinnen für Selbstaktivität. Sozialdemokratie in Österreich oder im europäischen Modell bedeutet, dass eine kleine Elite in einer Partei und in der Gewerkschaft den Arbeiterinnen sagt, wir werden für euch erkämpfen, was für uns eben in diesen politischen Verhältnissen möglich ist. Wenn nicht mehr möglich ist als in der großen Koalition mit der ÖVP, dann eben nur das. Aber wir wissen, dass viel, viel mehr geschehen muss. Das heißt, wir müssen sie gewinnen für Selbstaktivität, wir müssen sie gewinnen dafür, dass sie sich selbst organisieren und dafür, dass sie sich schlussendlich selbst befreien. Das heißt aber auch, dass sie brechen müssen mit dem Reformismus, den sie über Generationen natürlich angehangen sind. In Deutschland, in der Linkspartei, läuft nicht alles rosig, aber es gibt auch wirklich tolle Beispiele. Der Bernd Rixinger, einer der Vorsitzenden in der Linkspartei, hat jahrelang jetzt Streiks aufgebaut für Supermarktverkäuferinnen und in anderen Sektoren, in Krankenhäusern etc. Und zum Teil hat er gesagt, wir tun das auch, weil wir trainieren müssen. Weil wir uns üben müssen darin, wie wir vorankommen und wie wir dem System wirklich die Stirn bieten können. Aber das große Problem der Linkspartei ist, sie besteht aus vielen Flügeln. Der mächtigste Flügel ist ein sehr konservativer Flügel, der komplett auf die elektorale, also auf eine Wahlstrategie festgeschrieben ist, der beispielsweise deshalb bremsend dabei ist, dass die Linkspartei die Führung übernimmt im Aufbau von Straßenbewegungen und im Aufbau von Widerstand. In Deutschland ist das Bedürfnis, alles zu ändern und das herrschende System anzugreifen, groß, aber die Linkspartei bietet sich zum Teil nicht wirklich als glaubwürdige Führung für so eine Bewegung an. Und das ist der Grund, warum sie auch bei Wahlen zum Teil so schlecht abschneidet. Sie ist sozusagen zu brav. Aber eine Linkspartei ist wichtig auf dem Schritt, als Schritt, um für Revolutionäre die Möglichkeit zu schaffen, dass sie innerhalb der Arbeiterschaft die Wurzeln schlagen können. Revolutionen werden, wie gesagt, wurde nicht von Revolutionären bestimmt und gemacht, sondern Revolutionen geschehen aus den Widersprüchen heraus, die der Kapitalismus schafft. Und eine Revolution ist keine Garantie, dass sie auch siegreich zu Ende geführt wird und dass die Arbeiterinnen dann tatsächlich kollektiv die Macht ergreifen. In Österreich hatten wir eine Revolution 1819. Wir hatten Arbeiterräte und Soldatenräte, die tatsächlich Macht hatten, die die Polizei und das Militär in die Schranken weisen konnten, und die Sozialdemokratie hat die Arbeiter- und Soldatenräte in kurzer Zeit gezähmt, entmachtet und schließlich degradiert zu Demo-Ordnern, mehr oder weniger. Und das war die Grundvoraussetzung für den Aufstieg des Faschismus in Österreich. Sie hat die ganzen Streiks und die ganzen Bewegungen, die am Land außerhalb von Wien passiert sind, ignoriert. Faschisten haben sich aufbauen können. Wir wissen, wie das ausgegangen ist. Rosa Luxemburg hat deshalb ganz, ganz richtig gesagt, es gibt zwei Alternativen. Die eine ist Sozialismus, die andere ist Barbarei.